Hello, Parliament. Part 5, Article 79 to 122. The Parliament of India is the highest legislative authority in country, responsible for lawmaking and representing the people. It has a bicameral structure consisting the Lok Sabha, House of People, and Rajya Sabha, Council of State, and the President of India. The Parliament frames law, securities government policy, allocates the financial resources, and holds the executive accountable. The British Parliament is a fully sovereign with no limits or the judicial review. While the Indian Parliament is constitutionally limited, the subject to the judicial review. Details on the various aspects of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Aspects: Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Composition: the maximum strength of 552 members, 530 from states, 20 from union territories, 2 Anglo-Indians nominated if required. Current strength: the 543 members elected directly by the people of the India. Rajya Sabha maximum strength 250 members, 238 elected plus 12 nominated. Current strength 245 members, 229 elected by the state legislative assemblies and 4 union territories, 12 nominated by the president for their expertise in fields like literature, science, art, and social services. System of the election: Lok Sabha. Members are directly elected by the citizens of India through the general election in the constituency across the country. The election follows the first past the post system, winner takes all. Rajya Sabha members are elected by the elected members of the state legislative assembly and union territories through the proportional representation with a single transferable vote. Nominated members are appointed by the president. Duration: the fixed term of the 5 years unless the dissolved sooner by the president, automatically dissolved after 5 years or earlier upon the government advice. Rajya Sabha, the president body not subject to the dissolution. One-third of the member retired every 2 years, ensuring the continuity with each member serving a 6-year terms. The Constitution has not fixed by the term of the office of the member of the Rajya Sabha and left it to the Parliament. Accordingly, the Parliament in the Representation of the People Act 1951 provided that the term of the office of the member of the Rajya Sabha shall be the 6 years. Qualification to the member Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The must be the citizen of India, must be at least 25 years of the age. Other qualification specified under the Representation of the People Act 1951. The Rajya Sabha must be a citizen of India, must be at least the 30 years of the age. There is no requirement that a candidate must be a citizen of the state in order to represent it. Other qualification specified under the Representation of the People Act 1951. Disqualification: Lok Sabha disqualified under the condition listed in the Article 102 of the Constitution, including holding an office of the profit being a unsound mind, the undischarged, insolvent, and voluntary acquisition of the foreign citizen, etc. Anti-defection law 10th schedule also applies. Detailed in the anti-defection law, the further provision for the disqualification under the Representation of the People Act 1951. Rajya Sabha. The same disqualification condition as the Lok Sabha under the Article 102, including office of the profit, foreigner citizenship, and the dissolvency unsound mind. Anti-defection law also applies 10th schedule. The additional disqualification grounds for the Representation of the People Act 1951. The Parliament has laid additional disqualification in the Representation of the People Act 1951. These disqualifications also applicable for the state legislature and not have been the sound guilty of the certain election offence or the corruption practice in the election, not have been the convicted for the any offence resulting in the imprisonment for the 2 or more year, but the detention of the person under the preventive detention law is not a disqualification. He must not be have failed to the law loads and the account of his election expenses within the time. Uh, he must not have any interest in the government contracts, works, or service. He must not be a director or the managing agent, nor hold an office of the profit in a corporation in which the government has at least the 25% shares. He must not have been the missed from the government service from the corruption or the disloyalty to the state. On the questions whether a member is the subject to the any of the above disqualification, the precedent in the case of the state is the governor. The decision is the final. However, he should be obtain the opinion of the election commission and the act accordingly. The Parliament, the Prevention of the Disqualification Act 1959, exempted several posts from the disqualification on the grounds of the office of the profit. The way in which the seats have been vacated in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Resignation. A member can be resigned from their seat by the submitting of the written resignation to the Speaker Lok Sabha or the Chairman Rajya Sabha. However, the Chairman Speaker may not accept the resignation if he is satisfied that not be voluntary or the genuine. The absence of from the sessions. If a member is absent from all sitting from the 60 consecutive days without permission from the House, their seat may be the declared vacant. Disqualification member may be disqualified under the Article 120 as the mentioned above. Death. In the case of the member's death, the seat is automatically declared vacant. The double membership. A person can't be a member of the both houses of the parliament or the parliament and a state legislature simultaneously. If he elected both houses, they must be vacant on the seat within 10 days or the Rajya Sabha seats becomes a vacant. If a sitting members of the one house gets the elected to the other uh, they must be choose his the seat in the first house become the vacant. If a person is elected to the two seats in the house, he must be exercise his the option for the one. The otherwise, the both seat become the vacant. If elected to the both state legislature and parliament, they must be vacate one seat within the 14 days, or the parliament seat becomes a vacant. Ineligibility: if it is found for a member was the ineligible at the time for the election, or has become the eligible to the changing the circumstance, there the seat may be the declared vacant by the House or the as per the court decision. If a disqualified person is elected to the parliament, the constitution lays down no procedure to declare the election void. This matter is the default by the Representation of the People Act 1951, which enables that the High Court is a declare an election void by the disqualified candidate is elected. The aggrieved party can be applied to the Supreme Court against their the older or High Court, the presiding officer of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Aspects: Speaker of the Lok Sabha and Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Position: the Lok Sabha, elected from the among the Lok Sabha members. Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, the Vice President of India, serve as the ex-officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Election process: Lok Sabha Speaker, elected by the member of the Lok Sabha, and election date is set by the President. Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, elected indirectly as a Vice President by a elected coalition, assumes the role of automatically. The term and the tenure: Speaker of the Lok Sabha remains in the office until the Lok Sabha dissolves, may be resigned or be removed by a majority resolution within the 12 days notice. Resigns by the writing to the Deputy Speaker. The continues as the chairman as the Lok Sabha, they serve as Vice President. Removed only in the removed Vice President's office. The role in the House, the Lok Sabha. The President over the Lok Sabha session, the upholding order and the disciplines during the debates. The Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, the President over the Rajya Sabha sessions, maintaining the decorum in the debates. The mm, casting votes. Speaker of the Lok Sabha exercise a casting vote in the case of a ties in the Lok Sabha. The Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, the exercise a casting vote in the case of a ties in the Rajya Sabha. The authority of the bills. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha, final authority on the whether a bill is the classified as a money bill, the certified money bill before they go the Rajya Sabha. And the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, the no authority to the qualified bills. There the function is the solely under the speakers of the jurisdiction. The proceeding of over the joint session. The president over the joint session of the both Sabha when the summoned the resolve. The does not the presides over the joint session. This is the handled by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. Delay. The anti-defection law rule. Anti-defection ruling. The Act has the authority on the disqualification due to the defection for the Lok Sabha members, Rajya Sabha chairman. The decided on the disqualification case. The quorum maintenance. The Lok Sabha speaker. The can adjust as a suspend the session if the quorum is the not meet. Quorum is the 1/10 of the Lok Sabha strength. Rajya Sabha chairman has the power to ensure the quorum of the adjourned The suspend the session is the Rajya Sabha. The position in the committees. Lok Sabha Speaker, the Chairman of the Businesses Advisory Committee, Rules Committee, and the General Purposes Committee appoint chairs for the other committees. Rajya Sabha Chairman. The Chairman does not head the Rajya Sabha committee but the supervise the committee appointment. The independence. The Lok Sabha Speaker. Decision on the House conduct and the producers are the immune from the judicial review. Salary charge on the consolidated fund. The work and the conduct the can't be discussed and criticized in the Lok Sabha and accepted on the substantive motion. The decision on the Rajya Sabha, the procedure also enjoy the immunity from the court jurisdiction. The role in the removal motion. The Lok Sabha Speaker does not the presides if the resolution for his removal is being the discussed, but can't be the participate and the vote initially. Removal motion can be the considered and the discussed only, and if he has the support and at least 50 members. The Rajya Sabha chairman may be the president and the speaker, but can't be vote during the debates on his own removal motion. Deputy Speaker and the Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. The aspect Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Position. The elected by the member of the Lok Sabha from the among the themselves. And Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Elected by the Rajya Sabha member from the among themselves. Election of the process. The elect Lok Sabha speakers. Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha, elected by the simple majority of the uh, Lok Sabha member. The date of the election fixed by the Speaker. The Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, elected by the majority vote in the Rajya Sabha. The term and the tenure. Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha. The remains in the office as long as Lok Sabha is in session unless the removed or in the sees as a member of the House. The Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha the holds the office as long as his tenure in Rajya Sabha continues or until the removed or the ceased to be a member. A role in the House. Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha presides over Lok Sabha session. In this absence of the Speaker maintaining order or facilitating the proceedings. The deputy speaker is the not a subordinate to be speaker. He is directly responsible to the house. The deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha the presides over the Rajya Sabha session when the chairman is unable ensuring a smooth functioning of the house. Casting vote can be exercised a casting vote only when the proceedings in the speaker's absence and there is a tie in the Lok Sabha. A deputy chairman of the Rajya Sabha can use a casting vote in the case of the ties when the proceedings in the absence of the chairman. The authority on the bill. Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha has no authority to decide whether a bill is a money bill. This is observed for the Speaker. Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha does not hold any power of the classify bills as a money bill as they roll in the exclusive to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. The proceedings over the joint session can presides over the joint session in the absence of the Speaker. The anti-defection rulings has no power over the anti-defection cases. Decisions are made by the Speaker. Role in the removal of the motion has not been presides over the resolution for the removal is being the discussed. Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Authority bills. Okay. The proceedings over the joint session can be presides over the joint session in the absence of the Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha. The anti-defection ruling does not handle the disqualification cases under the anti-defection law. This is the chairman's domain. The role in the removal motion does not presides over a sitting of a house when the motion for this removal is under the consideration. Panel of the chairmen of the Lok Sabha. Under the rules of the Lok Sabha, the speaker nominates from amongst the member of the panel of not more than the chairperson. Any of them can be presides over the house in the absence of the speaker or the deputy speaker. When a member of the panel of a chairperson is only not president, any other person has the determined by the House act as the Speaker. But it must be emphasized here, but is the member of the panel of the chairperson. I can't presides over the House when the office of the Speaker or the Deputy Speaker is vacant. During the such time, the Speaker's duty are to be performed by the such member of the House as a President may be appointed for the purposes similar in the Rajya Sabha. Note in the 1969, the official leader of the opposition was recognized for the first time. The session in the Parliament and definition. The period during the which the Parliament meet conduct its the businesses. Types of the session. Budget session. Feb to May. Most important focus is on the budget discussion. Monsoon session. July to August usually follows the budget session. Winter session November to December, shortest session mainly the legislative works. Minimum requirement the constitution mandates that there must be at least two sessions are per year with the maximum gap as a 6 months between two sessions. There is no minimum number of the days that the parliament is required to meet in the year. The key parliamentary term, the summon, summoning, the president summon each housing of the parliament. A session starts after the president summons. The notice is given few weeks in the advance. A new agenda and the legislative items introduced. Adjournment. A break in the daily parliamentary proceedings announced by the president officer, speaker of or chairman can be a few houses, days, hours, days, weeks, but within the same session. The house also resummons on the specified date. The businesses temporarily pro- produce resumes as per the schedule. Adjournment sin dies. The Latin from the adjournment without assigning a days. The house is adjourned indefinitely, with no date set for the resumption. The called by the proceedings officer often happens near the end of a session. The suspends all the further meeting until the next summon or the propagation. The prorogation, the formal termination of a session by the president, usually after the House adjourned since die. All the preceding businesses except bills lapse, but the unfinished bills and the committee work on the continues to the next session. The conduct under the president's authority based on the government advice. The preceding businesses carried over no further meeting until the next session. However, the President can also the prorogate to the House while in the session. The dissolution the applies applies only to the Lok Sabha but not Rajya Sabha, which is a permanent body. Ends the tenure of the current Lok Sabha either by the automatic dissolution, comple- completion of the 5 years term, the premature dissolution done by the President on the Prime Ministers. The President of India can summon a session by the Parliament at each place as he or she thinks fit. When a Lok Sabha the dissolve the the pending businesses such as the bill, motion, and the resolution. The lapses and must be the reintroduced in the new Lok Sabha. However, the certain exception apply. The insurance reviewed by the Committee on the Government Insurance, and the some bills do not lapse. The rules regarding the bills lapses are: first, a bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapse, including those sent by the Rajya Sabha. And the second, the bill passed by the Lok Sabha but pending in the Rajya Sabha lapses. Third, the bill unresolved between the houses but notified for a joint setting before the dissolution do not lapses. Fourth, the bill pending in the Rajya Sabha but not introduced in the Lok Sabha do not lapse. The bill in the passed by the both houses but waiting for the president assent do not lapse. The bill returned by the president for the reconsideration do not lapse. The quorum: one-tenth of the total member of the member in each house including the presiding officer. If means that there must be the list the 55 member present the Lok Sabha and the 25 member present in the Rajya Sabha. Note: the Constitution has declared Hindi and English to be the language for the transactive businesses in the Parliament. The minister can be participate in the proceedings of a house which is not a member. Motion in Parliament. Motions are the formal proposal and presented for the discussion and the decision making in a Parliament. They are the essential tools to be initiated debates, call for the action or expression opinion. Below are the various types of the motion. The substantive motion. The definition: a self-contained motion independent of any other motion and the substantial in the nature. The purposes to be discuss significant issues such as the policy matter or the censure motion. The examples: no confidence motion and impeachment of the president or the removal of the chief election commissioners. The substantive motion. The definition: a motion the presented as an alternative to the original motion. The purposes: it purposes a different approach or the solution than the original motion. The procedure: if the substitute motion is adopted, it is a replace or the original motion. The subsidiary motion. Definition: a motion that the support or the related to the main motion. The purposes: it helps the facilitate the discussion of a principal issue. Types: amendment motion modified or the amends the original motion. Sus- superseding motion, the suspends the or the delays the discussion of the main motion. Ancillary motion, a regular way of the dealing with the various kinds of the businesses. The closer motion, the definition: a motion used to be in the debate and moved towards the vote. The purposes: ensure that the debate does not go to the indefinitely. Types: the simple closure, the conclude that the debates having a the vote immediately. The kangaroo closure, the debate on the selected amendment is allowed to the bypassing other. The guillotine closure, the debate is the time bounded and the undebated section are put to a vote automatically. privileges motion. A definition: a motion raised when a member believes the minister has violated the parliamentary privileges of the House or its member. Purposes: to ensure a minister for the breaching privileges, typically withholding the information or the providing the incorporate or the distorted factors, calling attention motion. Definition: a motion that allows a member of the bringing attention the specific matter urgent public importance. Purposes: to demand on the immediate government response on the passing issue. Procedure: a member can attend to the issue and the concerned minister responds with a statement followed by the question from the member. The like the 0 hours, the also the Indian innovation is the parliamentary procedure. However, unlike the 0 hour is the mentioned in the rules of the procedure. No confidence motion. A motion is a express a lack of the confidence in the government. The purpose is if the past the entire council of ministers must be resigned. The procedure: this motion can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha and require the support of at the least 50 members to the procedure. Codification motion. Confidence motion. Definition: a motion procedure by the government to prove it's a majority in the House. The purpose is the demonstrate the government's continued to confidence among the members. The procedure: if the motion falls, the government must be resigned. Censor's motion. The definition: a motion is a express a dissolve a movement, action, or the ministerial behavior. Purposes: to the formally censure the governments without any demanding it is a resignation. Effect: the singles the disapproval but does not require the resignation of the government. Motion of the thanks. Definition: the first session after each general election and the first session of the every final year is the addressed by the president of the motion moved after the president address to the parliament acknowledge the speech. Purpose: to it is a formal response to the president's speech followed by the debates on the government's policies. The effect: it rejected is signifies the lack of the confidence in the government. And the day at the named motion. The definition: a motion moved by the schedules and the debate on the specified by the future date. The purposes that keeps on the issue pending for the further discussion when the House or the sched- schedules time. The procedure: it is not left the discretion on the speaker for the scheduling. Uh, Dilatory motion. Dilatory motion. A motion is aimed at the delaying on the proceedings or the discussion of a motion. Delay. The definition. Then the purpose used to defer or the extend the discussion or the discussion on the issue. Effect: it is a temporarily postponed on the discussion or the rely on the action. The adjournment motion. To draw the attention to other define the matter of the urgent public importance and the needs to the support of the 50 members to be the admitted. It is the involves the element of the ensure the against the government and the hence the Rajya Sabha is not permitted to the use it. A discussion should not be the less than the 2 point and the 30 hours. It is introduced the subject to follow the condition. It should be raised a matter which is the define the factual, urgent, and the public importance. Second, it is not the raise the question of the privileges. And it should not the cover the more than the one matter. Other the divisions of the parliamentary proceedings. The questioning question hours. Following MPs to be question ministers about the various aspects to the administration and the policy of the governance. Types: Started question, a question requiring an oral answer in the house. They are the marked with the statistics and the supplementary question do may follow. The unstarted question requiring the written answer, no supplementary question can be asked. Short notice question that are submitted on the short notice less than the 10 days and the required the immediate response. Point to order. Definition: a parliamentary device used by the member to the raise the concern regarding the procedural matter to be the branches of the parliamentary rules during a session. Purposes to the clarify that the correctness of the parliamentary procedure or raise the objects on during the debates. It is an extraordinary device as the suspends the proceedings before the House. No debates is may be allowed on the point of the order. Like the 0 hour, it is also the Indian innovation of the parliamentary procedure. For unlike the 0 hours, it is mentioned in the rules of the procedure. 0 hour time immediately after the question hour, it is not mentioned in the rules of the procedure. Purposes allow the members to raise the urgent public issue without prior notice. Duration usually the last 1 hour subject to be the discretion of the proceedings officer. The half an hour's discussion. The purpose to be the seek to be further information or clarification or matter of the question hours. The timing held on the 3 days each week, usually half of the hours. Short duration discussion, 2 hours discussion. Definition of the mechanism to followed by MP discussion matters urgent public importance. Purposes to provide the opportunity for the concise debates on the proceedings issue by requiring a formal motion or vote. A special mention. Definition: a device that allows the member of the Rajya Sabha upper house to be raised the matter of significant public interest without requiring a formal discussion. Purpose to the enable member to the bring attention to the specific issue affecting the public, state or the national interest. Its equivalent to the equivalent for procedural device to be the Lok Sabha is known as a notice mentioned under the rule of 377. Public bill and private bill. It is introduced in the parliament by a minister if reflect the policy of the government ruling the party. It has the greater chance to be approved by the parliament. Its rejection by the house amounts to be the uh, expression of want to the parliamentary confidence in the government and may lead to the resignation. Its introduction in the House requires the 7 days notice. It is drafted by the concerned department in the consultation with the law department. Private bill. It is introduced by the member of parliament other than the ministers. It reflects then the stand for opposition party on the public matters. It has a lesser chance to be approved by the parliament. Its rejection by the House has no implication on the parliamentary confidence of the government or its resignation. Its introduction in the House has no implication on the parliamentary confidence on the government or the resignation. It drafting it is a responsibility of the matter of the concerned. The legislative procedure in Indian Parliament for ordinary bill. A drafting the of bill, introduce of the bill, first reading, publication in gazettes, second reading, the stage 1 general discussion, stage 2 closed by the clause. General discussion. uh, Referral to the committees optional. The committees and examination and reports. Stage 2. Stage 2 में third reading, final approval, transmission to the other house consideration, joint sitting if deadlocks, and precedent asset will become the law. Bill in the second house. In the second house also the bill passes through all the three stages, that is first reading, second reading and third reading. There are fourth alternative before it's the house. It may pass the bill as sent by the first house without amendment. It may be passed the bill and amendment and the return if the first house be recommendation. It may be reject the bill altogether. It may be on the action of the other keep the bill pending. If the second house passes the bill without any amendment or the first house and accept the amendment suggested by the second house, the bill is deemed to be have been passed by the both houses and the same is sent to be the proceeding for his assent. On the other hand, if the first house reject the amendment suggested by the second house or the second house reject the bill altogether, on the second house does not take any action for the 6 months, a deadlock is deemed to have been taken place. To resolve such a deadlock and the president can be summoned a joint sitting of the two houses. If the majority of the members present and the voting in the joint sitting approves the bill is deemed to be have been passed by the both houses. Financial bill. The financial bill are the bill that deal with the financial matter, including the expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India, taxation or the financial obligation of the government. All the such bills must be originate in the Lok Sabha. Types of the financial bill. The money bill, Article 110, deals with the exclusively with the matter listed under Article 110, includes the imposition, abolition, remission, alternation, or the regulation of the taxes. Regulation of the borrowing by the government, the custody and the withdrawal of the fund from the consolidated or the contingency fund of India, the appropriation of the money bill from the consolidated fund, declaration of the any expenditure charged on the consolidated fund of India, the receipt of the money bill on account of the consolidated fund of India or the public account of India or the custody of the issue and the such money, audit of the accounts of the union or the state, or any matter incidental to the any of their matter is specified above. How, however, a bill is not be deemed to be a money bill or by the reason only that is approved for. First, the imposition of the finance of the other procedurally penalties, the deemed for the payment of the fee of the fees for the license of the fees for the services and rendered, or the imposition of abolition, remission, alternation, or the regulation of the any tax by the local authority. Certification. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha certifies the bill is the money bill procedure. Only the introduced in the Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha role is the limited to recommendation with the Lok Sabha and may accept or the reject. Must be the passed with the 40 days by the Rajya Sabha or is deemed to be passed by the both houses. The President accepts mandatory on the no option of recommendation. There is no provision of the joint sitting for money bill. Example: Union Budget Bill of the imposing new taxes. Financial bill categories. Article 117, Section 1. They contain the both money bill provisions and the other general legislative provisions. Example: bills that involves the taxation or expenditure along with the general provision procedures must be introduced only in the Lok Sabha. Needs the President's recommendation for the introduction. Rajya Sabha can amend or reject this bill, unlike the money bill, requires the passage in the both houses by the simple majority. The President's asset has been the return by the money bill for recommendation. Financial bill category second, Article 117, Section 3rd. The contains provisions related to the expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India but takes the other money bill features. Example, bills that involves the general policy issues but requires expenditure from the government funds. Procedures that can be introduced in the either house of the parliament, requires the president's recommendation and for the consideration, not for the introduction. Rajya Sabha's rules holds the power to the amend or reject the unlike the cases of money bills. The president's assets are similar to the other bills with the opinion for the consideration. The key points of the distinction aspects money bill, financial bill categories second. Constitutional article money bill. Uh, Money Bill Article 110 Introduction only in Lok Sabha President's rule requires the prior recommendation. Rajya Sabha's role advisory no power to amend Speaker's certification certified by the Speaker as a money bill. Joint sitting no provision. Example Union Budget Taxation Bill. Financial Bill Category 1 Constitutional Article 117 Section 1 only in the Lok Sabha requires the prior recommendation can be amended the reject the speaker certification no certified joint sitting is the permitted the bill with the taxation plus the general provision. Financial bill second category second the Constitution Article 117 Section 3rd the introduction either each of the parliament the president's rules required recommendation only for the passing. The Rajya Sabha's rule can amend or the reject. Speaker certification no certified. The joint sitting is the permitted. Example will with the expenditure but no taxation provision. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha has the final say on whether a bill is certified as a money bill. This decision can't be challenged in any court, the either house of the parliament or by the president. But the Supreme Court in this various ruling, like the Aadhaar case, Kesav Singh case, and says that the legislative procedure can be the judicially reviewed. The joint sitting of the parliament. A joint sitting involves the both houses of parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha meeting together. There are the two main types of the joint sitting in the Indian parliamentary system. First, in the presidential address under the Article 87, and the second is the resolution of the legislative deadlocks under the Article 108. The Article 108, when a bill is passed by one house but the rejected or the not returned by the others. When the president returned the bill from the reconsideration, when the more than the 6 months have been lapsed from the date of the receipt of the bills by the other houses without any bill being passed by it. The key provision for the joint sitting, chaired by the Lok Sabha Speaker. Followed by the Lok Sabha rules and procedure, a quorum is a 1/10 of the total member from the both houses, used as the last restored to resolve the legislative deadlock. Exception to joint sitting and the two exceptions are the money bill and the constitution amendment bill. The comparison between the power of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha has equal power to the Lok Sabha. Explain. The ordinary bill. The both houses must be passed the ordinary bill. In the case of the disagreement, a joint sitting can be held. The constitutional amendment bills. The both houses must be passed the bill by the two-thirds majority on the joint sitting is allowed for the constitutional amendment. The impeachment of the president. Both houses participate equally and must pass the motion with a two-third majority. Removal of the vice president requires a resolution in the both houses. The resolution declares the national emergency. Article 352. Both houses must be approved within the month for the emergency to continue. The approval of the ordinances. Both houses must be approved the ordinances issued by the president within the 6 weeks of the reasonably. Rajya Sabha does not have the equal power to the Lok Sabha. Explanation. Money bill. Money bill can be introduced in the Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha can only be suggested amendment which the Lok Sabha can be accept or reject. Financial bill category 1. The similar to the money bill, financial bill can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha has the limited powers. The no confidence motion and the emergency can only be introduced and the passage in the Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha does not have the power. The resolution for the discontinuance of the national emergency can be passed only by the Lok Sabha and not by the Rajya Sabha. Budget annual financial statement. The Rajya Sabha can be discussed but can't amend or the vote on the demand for the grant action. Joint sitting for the specific bills. For the money bills, there is no provision for the joint sitting in the case of the disagreement. Budget. Definition and purposes. The budget is a financial statement represented annually detailing the government's except the revenue and expenditure for the financial year. Types of the budget. Annual financial statement. Article 112 mandates the presentation of the annual financial statement commonly known as the union budget. The interim budget. The presented when the government's tenure ends before the financial year fiscal year. It is usually cover the expenses for a limited period until the new government presents the full budget. A vote on the account allows the government to meet the essential expenditure until the budget is passed. And it's typically valid for the 2 months. The procedure for the passing the budget. The presentation. The Union Finance Minister presents the budget in the Parliament typically on the February 1. The general discussion the conducted the both houses where the members debates and budget overall impact. Detailed examination by the committee and the budget is examined by the department standing committee and enhancing the oversight and the security. Demand for grant. The Lok Sabha considered each minister demand for grant allowed by the voting. Rajya Sabha has the no voting power in their regard. The appropriation bill the authorities the withdrawal the funds from the consolidated fund of India to the meet the expenditure. The financial bill the enact the provision related to taxation other revenue raising the measures. It the becomes the act once the both houses passes through the president gives the asset. The budget contains the following: the estimate of the revenue and the capital received, the ways and the means to raise the revenue, the estimate of the expenditure, detail of the actual received and the expenditure of the closing the financial year and the reason for the any deficit or surplus of the year and the economic and the financial policy of the coming year and there is a taxation proposal purpose prospects of the revenues, the spending the programs and the introduction of the new scheme and project. along with the budget and the finance minister also other document before the parliament, which include the macroeconomics framework statement as standard by the provision of the Financial Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003. Role of the President. The budget is the precedented with the President's recommendation and the can't be passed without it. The President has the also say the money bill dispute has its speaker certification is the final. In the process of the voting demand for the grant in the Lok Sabha, member can be moved different type of the cut motion and the express disapproval of the specific aspects of the government expenditure. These are the key parliamentary tools used by the hold the government accountable, enhancing detailed security of the proposed expression. The three main types of the cut motion are policy cut. Purpose they express the disapproval of the general policy underlying a particularly demand. The mechanism if the motion reduce the demand for the grant to 1 rupee from the symbolic opposition. Economic cut. The purpose to suggest the amount of expenditure is too high and should be the reduced. Mechanism. If the past the reduce the demand by the specific amount of the highlight the excessive spending in the particular area. Token cut. Purpose to the raise the specific grievances against the functioning or the performance of a particular government department or the project. The mechanism. If the passed by the motion reduce the demand by the most nominal amount of the 100. The constitutional provisions regarding the budget. The article provision depreciation description. The Article 112 annual financial statement and the mandates the president to the present an annual budget called the annual financial statement to the parliament outlining the estimate receipts and expenditure from the upcoming financial year. Article 113 demand of grant specific that no demand for a grants can be made except on the recommendation of the president. This covers the required the parliamentary approval for each expenditure item. Article 114 the appropriation of bill. The provided that after the demand for the grant have been the voted by the Lok Sabha, the government must be introduced and the appropriation in the bill authorize withdrawal of the fund from the Consolidated Fund of India. No amount can be withdrawn from the Consolidated Fund of India without any authorization of the Parliament of India. The Article 115, the supplementary and additional and the excesses grant, the allows the government to the request additional fund in the case the the budget amounts fall short during the financial year or the covers unforeseen expenditure. There are the supplementary or the excess grant. The Article 116 votes on the account vote of the credit and the exceptional grants. The empowers the parliament to approve the fund to the cover the government expenditure for the part of the financial year. Vote on the account for the meat and the urgent the unforeseen expenditure both on the credit and the exceptional grant. Article 170 special provisions as the financial bill. They state that the money bill and the financial bill can be only be introduced in the Lok Sabha and must be receive the president's prior recommendation. Financial bill which is contain the expenditure or the revenue provision but are not be strictly money bill or the follows a similarly legislative procedure. Article 216 66. The Consolidated Fund and Contingency Fund and the Public Accounts. The establishes a Consolidated Fund of India, the Contingency Fund of India, the Public Account of India, which are the source from the government and fund are the drawn from the management. Article 267. Contingency Fund. The creation of the Contingency Fund under the control of the President to meet the urgent and enforces expenditure. Other provision. No tax shall be levied or the collected except from the authority of the law. Parliament can be reduced or abolish a tax, but they can't be increased in the fifth. Consolidated Fund of India, Article 266. It is a fund which is allowed the receipt are the credited and the follow payment are the debited. All the revenue received by the government of India. The all loans raised by the government by the issue and the treasury bill loans where the and means the of advance and all money be received by the government in the repayment of loan. Public account Public Account of India, Article 266. All other public money other than those which are the credit to the Consolidated Fund of India received by received by or the on behalf of the government or the India shall be credited to the public account of India. This includes the provident fund deposit, judicial deposit, saving the bank deposit, departmental deposit, and the remittances of so on. This account is opposited by the executive action, that is the repayment, and from the account can be made without parliamentary appropriation. Constituency Fund of India, Article 267. The Constitution authorized by the Parliament to establish a Constituency Fund of India into which amount determined by the law or the paid from the time to time. Accordingly, the Parliament enacted the Constituency Fund of India Act in 1950. This fund is placed at the disposal of the President, and it can make the advance out of its meet. The on offence the expenditure pending and the authorization by the Parliament. This fund is held by the Finance Secretary on the behalf of the President, like the Public Account of India. This is also operated by the action, executive action. Few other types Few other types of grants, supplementary, additional, and excess grants. And these grants are cover the situation where actual expenditure excess original allocation. The supplementary grant address shortfall in the budgeted allocation. The additional grant is the unforeseen the expenses that were not be anticipated in the regular budget. The excess grant applies the re- respectively to the expenditure that went to beyond the approved budget for the specific service. This grant is the presented as the demands for the grant is Parliament, and they are the received by the Public Account Committee to ensure the transparency. Vote of the credit. This grant is the specifically used in the time to emergency and enforcement crisis where the government need to flexibility and fund significant needs without the providing the details and estimated on front. It is like to bank checks the given the executed by the Lok Sabha. Exceptional grant. The grant for unique of the one of the projects or the purposes outside the routine government the function. These the grants are not be requiring and the reserved for the special situation. Token grant. A token grant is a national allocation of the 1 rupee allowing the funds for the relocated from the other budget. The where area without increasing the total budget. The primarily the parliamentary practices it help the minor adjustment between the department or the services without the few budgetary provisions. The expenditure charge on the expenditure made by the Consolidated Fund of India. The types of the expenditure charge expenditure description. The example directly charge on the Consolidated Fund of India, meaning it is the non-votable and that does not require the parliamentary vote. Only the decision may be offered in the parliament. Example: the salary and allowance. The president of its office, the presiding officer of Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, and the pension of the judges of the Supreme Court, the pension of the judges of the High Court, and pension of the CAG and pension of the UPSC chairman, administrative excesses of the Supreme Court and CAG UPSC, including all their employees' salaries, and the debate charge on the which is the government of India is liable. The approval requirement requires no the parliamentary vote and only the discussion. The any sum required by satisfied any judgment decreases on the award of the any court or the arbitral trial and by the other expenditure declared by the parliament to the so the charge. The votable made expenditure that the presented as the demand for the grant and is the votable by the Lok Sabha. It is the main part of the budget and where the charge of the demand is scrutinized the voted upon the parliament. The fund for the various ministries and the department, defense budget, social scheme and the welfare program require the parliamentary approval by the majority vote in the Lok Sabha. The special power of the Rajya Sabha, creation of the new All India services under Article 312. Rajya Sabha can be authorized the creation of the new All India services like the IS by the passing resolution with a two-third majority. The Lok Sabha does not have this power. The power to enable legislation on the state subject list subject. The Article 249 allows the Rajya Sabha to the empower the Parliament to the make law on the subject in the state list if the deems to subject to be the national importance. This requires the resolution passed by the two-third majority and the effective list for the year, but can be extended. The role in the emergency proclamation. If the Lok Sabha is the dissolved, the Rajya Sabha assumes the greater significance in the approving. The proclamation of emergency. The proclamation of emergency presents rules state. Thus, financial emergencies. This ensures the continuity legislative powers during the time of the crisis when the Lok Sabha is not in session. The removal of the vice president. The Rajya Sabha plays a unique role in the initiating the removal of the vice president, who is also the ex-officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha. The resolution for the removal can be initiated only Rajya Sabha can be must be passed by the absolute majority in the agreed by the Lok Sabha. The parliamentary privileges, the definition, legal immunities regarded granted by the member of the ensure the smooth functioning of the legislative duties, collective privileges of the parliament. The right to the publish the report. The parliament has the exclusive right to the publish, debate and report and proceeding can be restricted other from doing so. The 44th Amendment Act of the 1917 allowed the press to publish the true report of the parliamentary proceedings except during the secret sittings. The exclusion of the strangers. The parliament has the authority to exclude the non-member and can hold The secret sitting of the discussion important matter. The regulation of the procedure. Each house can make the own rules and manage the internal affair and the regulation of the businesses. The the punishment for the contempt. Parliament can publish the member of the outsider of the breach the privileges or the content which may be include parliament the reprimanding the uh, abmo- admonishing or the imprisonment member may be also the face the suspension or expansion right to the information parliament to entitle the immediate information on the trust and detention the conviction imprisonment or releases its the member the power of institute inquiries parliament can be summoned the witnesses required documents and the conducted inquiries judicial immunities the court can't be required with the proceedings of the parliament or the committees. The protection from the legal process under civil criminal and the process can be sought within the parliament practices without any permission from the proceedings officer. Individual privileges of the member. The immunity from the arrest. Member can't be the arrest during the session or the 40 days before and 40 days after the session in civil case but not be criminal case or the preventive detention cases. The freedom of speech member can immune from the legal action or the any speech or the vote made in the parliament or its the committee subject to the constitutional or parliamentary rules. The exception from the jury services member are the except from the service or juries for appearing as the witnesses of the court can be during the session of the parliament. It it should note here the parliament till now has not made for a special law to exclusively codified of the privileges. There are the based on the five sources mainly the constitutional provisions, the various laws are made by the parliament, rules of the both houses, parliamentary conviction and the judicially interpretation. Parliamentary committee. The parliamentary committee refers to the specific task to support the parliament, allowing the detailed discussion, review, and the expert input the complex issues, the definition and the importance. The definition committee are the small group or the members of the parliament MPs tasked with the specific roles to the assist the legislative processes. Importance scrutiny and the accountability in the government action, a specialized examination of the bill's finance and policy, save parliament time through the focused on the discussion, and the facilities the bipartisan and cooperation with the technical and complex matter. Types of parliamentary committees, a standing committee, permanent, the constituted every year by the function of the constitutionally. By the example, Public Accounts Committee, Estimate Committee, Ad hoc Committee, Temporary. The form from the specific purpose of dissolved after the task completion. Example, Joint Parliamentary Committee, JPC, Specific Issues. The classification of the committee with the formation of the details. Financial Committee. The committee that maintain the financial oversight Sight and the accountability. The Public Account Committee (PAC). The formation consists of the 22 members, 15 from the Lok Sabha and 17 from Rajya Sabha. The Parliament elects the member annually from the among its own member. The following the system the proportional representation through the single transferable vote. The ministers can't be the elected as a member. Role the committee they examine the union Union government's appropriation of the finance accounts ensure the expenditure and the within the legal and the authorized limits review the accounts of the state corporation and the autonomous body outside the CAG and they investigate the excess of the expenditure beyond the Lok Sabha grant. The function ensure the government spending the allies and the budgetary approval. It can't be intervened and the daily administration offers advisory recommendation and the lack of the powers and disallow the permanent expenditures. The estimate committee. The formation of the comparison 30 members exclusively from the Lok Sabha. The Lok Sabha Lok Sabha elects the member annually from the among the own members, allowing the system appropriation, representation, and the single transferable vote. Role of the analyze budget estimate presentation parliament function committee review the budget and estimate precision, efficiency, and approval the administration reform while suggesting alternative policy. The formation of presentation reform parliament committee and the parliament. Pause, pause the videos and the read continuously. Read separately. Departmental Standing Committee. The committee to the requires. Committee to the securities and control. Other committees. Parliamentary groups.